The Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel mindset.
This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
Welcome everyone to the Sentinel Mindset. We got a very special episode for you today. Earlier this week, we had one of our own Sentinels, Joshua Houeto, put on an incredible speaker series. And the title of this is literally Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. And it's the power of your legacy. We had our theater set up with some individuals that came in. It was a powerful presentation. And what you're going to do right now is you're going to hear this. What does it exactly mean when we say who lives, who dies, who tells your story? The power of your legacy. Have you ever thought about what happens when you die? Meaning as in, what did you leave behind? Many of us, as we go in our careers, in our day-to-day, we're going to eventually die. And really, what is the legacy that you leave behind? What do you want people to know of you when you're gone? Do you have a legacy? Do you even want a legacy? Do you want to be that individual that everyone forgets about? Or do you want to leave an impact in this world? And here's the beautiful thing, everybody. You have the ability to make a difference and to leave an impact and to leave your mark in this world before we move on. It's going to happen to all of us. We're going to die one day. But what you do on this world, your body of work, who you're known for, is all that matters. I present to you who lives, who dies, who tells your story, the power of your legacy. Get ready for a life change mindset switch. Here we go.
Today, I have an assignment, I have a mission, and I'm here to talk about the power of your impact, the power of your legacy. The power of your impact and the power of your legacy. Every single person that comes into this world, every single person that is in this room, God has given you something. It's called a seed, and that seed can either produce fruit of greatness or fruit of destruction. It really all depends on the soil that you put your seed inside. One of the most profound quotes that I've ever heard that is kind of like driven my life, and up until now, it still centers me and it kind of steers me and really anchors me when I start to drift, because the thing about life is a journey. It's like you're on a highway, and no matter how good the make of your vehicle is, at times when you're going through life, you will drift. At times I drift. I know every single one of us can say you've drifted from the vision. You've drifted from things you said you would never do, you end up doing. And so in order for us to really leave a legacy, we have to get anchored, because we will drift. So we have to come back to a place when we are drifting that we can get anchored again. And so this quote that has centered me, I heard it back in 2017. And the quote it was actually like a form of a question. And the quote was, what do you think the richest place in the world is? What is the place in the world that has the most natural resource? And so you have people thinking like, yay, Dubai, the oil fields of Africa. Probably something came up into your mind when I said that. But when I heard the answer, it kind of blew me away. And then I sat down and it hit me when I heard what the answer was. And I heard that the richest place in the world is actually the graveyard. It's actually the cemetery. It's the place that bodies go after the funeral and the eulogy is over. And the reason why, as they went deeper into the quote, they said, this place is the richest place in the world because the most expensive resource fills the graveyard, and that resource is potential. A lot of people die with the potential that God has placed inside of them. And so the cure to cancer that never came out because somebody didn't have the belief in themselves or they didn't have the support system is in the graveyard, unfortunately. The hit song that would have revolutionized the way we see political tensions never came out because that person died with that sound inside of them. That book that would have given us the way that we perceive relationships, so the tensions that we see and the divorce rates that we see wouldn't be as high, is in the graveyard. And so we find out that the richest place in the world is the graveyard because a lot of people die with their potential, and potential is the most expensive thing that you can actually think about because potential cannot be quantified. It is more expensive than gold. It is more expensive than silver if you really tap into your potential. But even though it cannot be quantified, if you're not careful, the value that comes out of your potential could be zero if you don't tap into what that is. So it could be 0 to 100 real quick. What do you want your impact to be? That's a question that I'm asking myself as well. Because one day, I will not be here anymore. And I'm not just talking about because, we in Toronto, Victoria Park, and I got to go back to Mississauga. I'm not here. No, I mean, like, one day, I'm going to die. One day, you're going to die. What are you going to leave behind when you die? You see, human beings have this, I believe, instinctive and innate desire to want to live forever. And I believe that you can live forever one of two ways. I'm a man of faith. I believe that once you die, if you give your life to God, to Jesus, like you can live eternally, but that's just what I believe. But another way that I believe that you can live perpetually is through the legacy that you leave behind. Up until today, history continues to give us a mirror image of people that even our grandparents would have never met. People that were born and died before our grandparents came onto earth. History continues to give us a mirror image. You never met Hitler. I hope not. You never met Hitler, but you're very aware of Hitler's impact and Hitler's legacy. In fact, some of Hitler's legacy still has an impact up until today. Okay, iPhone. Okay, I think my lapel mic came off. I'm back on the mic. Okay, iPhone. You haven't met Steve Jobs before, but if you go into your pocket, the legacy of what this man left behind, whether you agree with his views and his personality or not, it's still here, so to speak. What will Ahmed leave behind? What will Jakisha leave behind? What will Annika? What will you leave behind? Because here's the thing. God has put a seed inside of you of potential. And again, it cannot be quantified. And so the value that you leave behind with that seed can be exceedingly abundant or exceedingly irrelevant, depending on what you do with the seed and the soil that you put the seed inside. And so I hear stories, and like the man who was more talented than Michael Jordan, but he never made it to the NBA because of his drug addiction, a talent that went to the graveyard. I don't care what people may think, but what I know is that at the end of the day, I care about the legacy that I leave. Because that's all we got. Let's think about it. That's all. Whether your religion, whether your philosophy, whether your creed, we can all agree on one thing. Life, if it does not have meaning, then what is the point of being here? Whether you believe in God or you're agnostic or atheist, whatever it is, we all need meaning to life. And so I just want to redirect our attention, because this is a talk mostly for people who are in the corporate world. Maybe you're a professional. Maybe you're trying to go up in your career. And one of the double-edged swords of being a professional is that sometimes you get so caught up in your vocation that you forget about your purpose. And then I tell people, listen, your vocation doesn't always mean that you're walking in your purpose. Just because you're succeeding at your vocation doesn't mean that you're walking in your purpose, because your vocation is not your purpose, but your vocation can be a stream in which you express your purpose. I know what you do, but who are you? Because I had an interview a few years ago with Constantine. I said, what you do is not about really what you do, it's about who you are, and out of who you are will come what you do. So I really want to focus. That was just kind of like my introduction and getting into the meat of what I'm about to talk about today. The topic of this talk is called Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. Who lives, somebody say that to somebody. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Tell somebody that. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. The power of impact, the power of legacy. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. That's a question. And so by the end of this talk, I want us to find the answer to that question. Where I found that question was actually from an experience that I had through work. For those of you that don't know, maybe, I work with an amazing company called SENTINEL Security Plus. Shout out to SENTINEL. SENTINEL, what's up? What's up? Work with an amazing company called SENTINEL. And, we usually wear fly suits like our brother Ahmed over there. And we look really good. We do what we do. We take care of people. And I've been with the company, I think 2024 will be about 7 years. Wow. It's been a long time. And by the blessings of God, I've made it up to the level. I'm a manager now. I get to serve in leadership. It's been an amazing experience. And so we also do something known as close protection or executive protection, where we also provide coverage for people of influence. This could be business executives, this could be CEOs, or we can people in entertainment, it could be athletes, it could be singers. And so the first half of the year, I had an amazing opportunity, and I got to do close protection for a group called Hamilton. And it's a Broadway musical. It's the hit Broadway musical. And I was with them for the first half of the year during their Toronto run. And I learned a lot from being with them. They were such an amazing group of people, the most talented people in the world. And so the musical kind of chronicles the life of Alexander Hamilton. He was one of the founding fathers of America. However, his story is not really known like that. But this musical kind of brought a resurgence and a remembrance of who this guy was and the impact that he had in society. And he literally was the founding father that brought the banks into existence. Like, he is the finance founding father. Like, there's so much we did not know about him until this musical came out. And so the musical is about a few hours long, but the final song is called Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. And then there's a line when they sing the first part of the song. It says, let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Because at the end of this song, he had just died, and they were singing about the legacy that he left behind. And literally every day I would hear the song. And after a while, I really started to think a lot about who lives, who dies, who tells my story. When I'm gone, what will I leave behind? What will people remember? And I started thinking about the people around me. I started thinking about, my vocation and everything that I was doing. What would I leave behind when people are gone? And so when I was given the opportunity to do this talk, I said, I really want to dive into this, because I believe if we find the answer to those three questions, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, I think it will shift our paradigm. I think it will change the way we operate. I think it will change the way we talk, how we present ourselves. I think it will give us a new perspective as we go into the workplace. Primarily, I'm thinking about professionals and people who are in their vocation. How do we leave behind an impact in what we are doing? Because we spend most of our time at work. But what I realize is a lot of people spend most of the time at work, but they don't spend most of the time in purpose. And so we have to find a way when we're at work to flip that into purpose, because people give their lives to a vocation and they're now 65 and then they retire. And then the statistics are alarming that usually when people retire, they die maybe a year or two after they retire because they've built a routine of monotony, repetition, that this is just what I do. I'm just on autopilot. I don't really have a real sense of purpose or value on giving back. And so when I'm not doing that thing anymore, I have no more reason to live. But I believe that we were put on earth for a greater reason than that. So the vocation that you are doing right now may not be your purpose, but your purpose must now flow through your vocation. And so when you go into your workplace and you punch in tomorrow morning, my goal from this talk is that when you punch in, you're going to walk in differently. You're not just going to show up for a shift, but you're going to show up and cause a shift in the way people think, in the way people interact, because you have to understand the question: who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And I really hope we can uncover that today, because it's so rich, it's so potent. And if we spend the majority of our life at work, if I spend the majority of my life working a shift, then I better make sure that I've experienced a personal shift, so I'm not here for no reason. So we're going to take a little bit of a journey. I'm going to end this thing soon, but who's ready to go on a journey to find the answer to that question? Okay. So when I started thinking about that question, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, I had a lot of different things that came to mind. And I thought about, well, first and foremost, when you go to work, you want to be able to be the best version of yourself so that you can inspire people, because you don't know what the person next to you is going through. Right? So I don't know if this person next to me is suicidal. And so, to be honest, originally, I was not even ever planning to be a security guard. That was not my vocational trajectory. But here's my first thing that I really want you to focus on. The thing that should lead your life is not convenience, comfort, or dollar signs. The thing that should lead your life is purpose. It's purpose. So like I said earlier, I'm a man of faith. So I had this vision for my life maybe 10 years ago. I said, listen, what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to be preaching at churches, and I'm going to be going around speaking. And you guys know I'm a musician too, so I'm going to be performing music and doing all of these crazy things. What I had in mind is not quite what I ended up doing. But I came to a point when I started really going deeper into my purpose and started really going deeper into that question, that I realized that in order for me to make an impact, I have to be comfortable doing what is uncomfortable. I have to be willing to deviate from what I thought I should be doing. And so I come into the realm of security, and then I meet Constantine. And I remember on my interview, I felt like, whoa, hold up. This was not just an interview, but this was a moment, this was an intersection where I can move from one place to another. I recognized that this was a place of destiny. I recognized that this was an open door for me to walk into, me fulfilling my purpose. Because when I met him and I talked to him and I started to hear his vision, I realized, wait, this is bigger than security. What he was tapped into, this man's mindset and this man's heart, was more than just about making sure we protect people and protecting property, but he had a passion, and it ignited something in me, and I knew that this is where I was supposed to be. It didn't look like what I thought I should be doing, but I knew it was where I was supposed to be. Somebody say, I am where I am supposed to be right now. Oh, you got to say that with a little bit more passion. I am where I am supposed to be. Come on, say it. And if you're watching the replay, you say it too. Okay. It may not seem like it. I want to encourage somebody. You may feel like you're not hitting your goals. You may feel like I'm not, like the goals that I had for the beginning of the year, I'm not hitting that, but you are where you're supposed to be. Everywhere you are right now is just a footstep. It is the footstool for you to get to where you're supposed to be. And it may not always look like it, but God has a way of turning things that do not look good, things that look tragic, and turning them into your triumph. So if you're going through a tragedy today, I want to encourage you and let you know that that thing can be the doorway to your purpose. So anyways, back to my story. I met Constantine and I realized that I'm supposed to be here, even though it didn't look like I was supposed to be here. And then after a period of time, I said, I'm not going to lie, there was times that I was frustrated and I was like, what am I really doing here? I know I said I was supposed to be here, but what am I doing here? I'm standing at the door. I'm guarding this. Why am I here? And then one day I made a decision. If I'm going to be here, I'm going to give the best me. And I'm going to make sure that I change people's lives, because I know that's what my personal vision was. Before I met Constantine, before I came to Sentinel, that was what my vision was. And if this is the conduit in which I'm going to do it through, then this is how I'm going to do it. And then things started to happen. I started to reach people. I started to have conversations with the different people that I started to meet, and people would tell me stories like, if I was not in this company, I would have committed suicide because I don't feel like I have much of a purpose right now. I started to have conversations with people and they started to tell me, by virtue of me meeting you, I now know what my purpose in life is. And I started to have endless encounters with people, and I started to see that I'm reaching more people doing what I never thought I should be doing than doing what I thought I should be doing in that moment. And so first and foremost, this is going to hurt somebody, but even though you're where you're supposed to be, you have to make peace with where you are. Because if you're where you're supposed to be, but you're angry about it, you're not going to make the impact that you're supposed to make. You need to make peace with where you are. You're a janitor right now. You're right where you're supposed to be. But are you angry? Are you spiteful? Make peace with where you are. Because once you make peace with where you are, then you can connect to the divine and be able to tap into the stream of purpose. And now you can leave behind a legacy. And so as I started making peace with where I was, I started realizing that my purpose started flowing through my vocation. And so when I went to a shift, I said, I'm not just here to make money. I'm here to bring impact. I'm not just here to make money. I'm here to touch lives. I'm not just here to make money, but I'm here to leave a difference. And here's the funny thing about that. The more that I made peace with it, the more that my vocation intersected with my purpose. Remember, I said my purpose, I felt like I'm a speaker. I'm a preacher. Wait, what am I doing right now? Somehow my vocation is now intersecting with my purpose, and now I am able to have opportunities to do things in my vocation that tie into my purpose. Because I knew when I met Constantine that this person was tapped into something. And so now my music, I'm still a musician, but now he's had times where he has played my music and has promoted my music. And I literally said, there is no difference between my vocation and my purpose. It's all the same right now. And so when I was looking up at the question, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Well, I'm the one that lives, right? And then, the people who die, well, unfortunately, not everybody lives and not everybody makes it. There are people that have contributed into my life. So, they're just people that you loved. And the ones that tell your story are the ones that you leave an impact. The ones that you leave the seed of your impact. I was thinking about my experience with Hamilton. And I went in there and I said, I have this amazing opportunity, but what impact am I going to leave? And I started to realize that the 8-day show schedule started to be a little bit strenuous on some of the people. And I said, I want to leave an impact. And then after a while, we started to connect. And I talked to the company management, and we were able to start a Bible study. We started a weekly Bible study. It was amazing. So people that had thousands of people come in to see them, to perform. We all got into a group. It started with 2 of us, 3 of us. Not everyone had to come. It wasn't by force, but then we had now 11 of us. We created a group chat. We were doing a weekly Bible study. It was amazing. Out of that, one of them got baptized. Like, it was powerful. And I said, okay, maybe this is who tells my story, the people that I'm able to leave an impact on. But then I went deeper into the question. I realized, wait, no, that's not fair, though. That's not fair, because you can't expect the person that you impact to tell your story, because what if your expectation of them is not what they become? I'm here to guide you, and I'm here to give you the seed of impact, but I can't control what you do. You're not going to become the next version of me. You got to be the best version of you. So even though they may tell the story in a sense, that's not really the answer to the question. And so I was mulling over this. And then one day I looked at the man in the mirror, and I was brushing my teeth and I was combing my hair, and then I found the answer, the real answer to the question: who lives, who dies, who tells your story? And as I looked in the mirror, I said, the answer, I finally figured it out. The answer to all 3 of those questions is me. You're confused, but I'm going to break it down. Because I said, my story is connected to the potentiate, or the potential that God has placed inside of me, the seed of potential that I do not want to take to the grave. I don't want to die with that thing inside of me. I want to die empty. So that's connected to my story. My story can be a book that I write, a business that I build, whatever it is. But my story is the expression of what I've lived through and what I've done. And through that story, I'm able to change the way people look at themselves. And if they're able to change the way they look at themselves, then it will change the way they interact with others. And if it changes the way they interact with others, then it could change the way they leave behind their own legacy. I want to leave an impact, and that is through the integrity of my story. How integral, how pure is the story that I leave behind. But then I noticed, how can I leave behind my story if I'm still traumatized, if I'm still brutalized, if I'm still broken, if I'm still a victim, if I'm still in a poverty mindset, if I still blame others instead of taking ownership and responsibility? And then I realized, oh my gosh, the question is answered by myself. Because in order for me to tell my own story, ultimately, I am the one who has to tell the story. But what version is going to tell that story? Remember, I said we're going to tie this into the beginning. What version, the best version of myself? But how do I reach the best version of myself? The version that I'm currently operating at has to die. Who lives? I do. But what version of me lives? It's the version that is healed. It is the version that is the version that is no longer hardened by what he went through, because I've been through some trauma. I've been through some pain. I've been through some stuff. But the one that must live is the one that is no longer tethered to the experiences of his past. So then the one who must die is also me. But it is the version of myself that would sabotage my destiny, that would sabotage my purpose, because he has not yet healed from his pain. He has not yet healed from what he has went through, because you can survive what you've been through. But it's not just about surviving it. Has what you went through you? Like, you survived it, but there's still a residue lingering inside of you. Thank God you survived the rape. Thank God you survived the car accident. But now every time you see a man that has the build of the man that touched you inappropriately, you start to have panic attacks. Every time you go on the road and you see a car honking a lot, you start like, you can't allow what you went through to remain. The residue still lingers, even though some of us have survived. So the one who dies is also me. I want you to look at yourself real quick. There is a story that you have to tell. But in order for you to tell the story, there is a version of you that must die. Like, let's just look at it very practically. If you went to tell me your story, you got to tell me the full story. That's what makes your story interesting. You ever watch a movie? What makes it interesting is that the hero overcame some scars. So you have to go through the abuse. You have to go through the breakup. You have to go through the you have to go through the things that will trigger you. If you're still the old you, you telling your story would traumatize you even more. Because I have to show you my scars for you to see my story. But if you start to tell your story and you get traumatized, you will just perpetuate the cycle. And so that old person has to die. So the answer to the questions is me. I must live, but it's the best version of myself. I must die, but it's the old version of myself. And I must tell the story. It's the established version of myself. The one who lives is the new version, the best version of myself, the healed version of myself, the one that has done the work. The one who dies is the version of myself that is petty, the version of myself that is wounded, the version of myself that would self-sabotage. And the one who tells the story is the established version of myself. What does this have to do with our vocation? Simple. A lot of the times when people are in the workplace, people gossip. Billy, man, that guy doesn't know what he's doing, man. Man, it's his fault we're not hitting our projections. Man, I feel like when you're in the workplace, it's always this constant circle of pointing at other people. And that's why people don't have no impact, because once you blame someone else, you give them your ownership, you give them your authority. And so the best thing that you can do instead of pointing at someone else is point at yourself. Stop trying to change Billy and change you. And by changing you, you will change Billy. You see what I'm saying? And so I will show up as a better employee, as a better entrepreneur once I work on me. It's not about the sales. It's not about the product. It's not about security. Like a lot of you are listening to the replay that you guys are trying to get into law enforcement. Amazing. I hope you get into the force. I hope you have a great career. But listen, just having a great career in the government and having pension when you die is not enough, because guess what? There are people that have gotten into the force and have done more damage to the name of the force than anyone else. How about the person that killed George Floyd? I'm not trying to get political here. But I can guess that that's a person that didn't have a purpose. All he knew about was his vocation. And so he's not thinking about the consequences of his actions, because once you have a purpose, you have a lot more to lose. So I don't have time to argue with people. So when I'm working security and people say, buddy, you make $10 an hour, I'm like, God bless you. I have much more to lose. And we get paid good, first and foremost. Shout out to SENTINEL. Like, plug, come and join us. But I'm like, God bless you. I'm not going to let you get under my skin, because I got a lot to lose. Because it's not just about my job. It's about who I am and who I am bleeds through what I do. So who lives, who dies, who tells the story. So I'm going to end right now. But I just quickly want to just do a quick thing. How do you even... Can I get somebody come up here? Is that okay? I just want to do a quick... Can I get somebody up here? Yay. Okay. One more person, actually. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. Yeah. One more person. Don't be shy. Yeah. Somebody, give her a clap. Give her a clap. Give her a clap. Yes. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yes. Amazing. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Sensational.
Hi.
Okay. So this represents the old version of you. Mm-hmm. This represents the new version of you. This is the one who lives. This is the one who dies. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, the one who tells the story is over there. So that represents your story. You have to get over there, right? So there's two versions. The one that goes over there, that just represents you going into the graveyard with your potential, dying with what you came with. We don't want that. That represents the established version, the one who lives, gets over there. But now there's a tug of war. Link up arms, where, now here's me. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, maybe only me, but I want you guys to like tug back, like a battle, back and forth, right? Boom, 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 boom. Let's put on some hip hop, put on boom. Like, you know what happens with me? Let me just be honest, because there's some days when I feel like I'm walking in the new me, right? And then there's days where I'm walking in the old me. So start to walk a little bit further. Pull that with you, pull that with you, pull that with you. Okay, stop. I've been doing good. I've been getting my vitamins. I've been going to the gym. I've been doing my therapy. I've been praying. And then somebody comes and cusses you out. Move a little bit. Boom, stop. And then you're here for like a week. And you're like, nah, let me get my act right. Let me get accountability. Let me get a mentor. Boom. And so you're back and forth. A little faster. Back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so, eventually you realize there needs to be a separation between the two. Because a lot of us are living in a pendulum. One day, the new version of me will show up, and you disrespect me, and I will bless you. But then the next week, maybe I didn't get enough sleep. And you disrespect me, and listen, I'm going to show you what disrespect means in the dictionary. And so this person comes out. But I want to tell my story. How do I cut the ties? How do I cut the tie to the old me so I can get to the established me? You guys can go back now. Thank you. Give them a clap, give them a clap, give them a clap. So there's two sides. How do I get over here to the established me? There's three things, and then we're going to end. We're going to open up the floor for questions and answers. But number one, somebody say this. Process. You have to go through a process. It just don't happen. It's not make-believe. You don't just wish to be the best version of yourself. There's a process that you have to go through. Even when you upgrade your iPhone, it just doesn't upgrade. You have to now go through the process of going to your settings and say, I'm upgrading my phone settings, and then it has to turn off, and it goes through a process. There needs to be a process. Do you have a plan for your development and your betterment? And so I have 7 things that you can use as a skeleton and you can add to it. But I have something that I call the 7 steps of illumination that can help you with a process. You can use it as a skeleton, and then after that, you can add what you want to add to that. So the first step of illumination, this is a process that I am purposely putting myself in an uncomfortable place so that the old version of myself starts to wither away. Because your process determines which one lives and which one dies. So the first thing that I would say in the 7 steps of illumination is work on spirituality, right? Spirituality is so key. I don't know what you believe in. I'm a man of faith. I believe that having a foundation of spiritual conviction, will help anybody in their moral compass and what you do. It will just ground you. I'm going to go through this very quickly. I just want to end this. The second thing is your mental. What are you doing with your mind? Are you going to therapy? Are you listening to motivation? Are you just like meditating? Are you doing your breathing? Are you going, all of those things. The third thing is your emotional state. Again, do you have people that you can just be real with and raw with? Because if you suppress the version of yourself that wants to pull you towards degradation, eventually you will blow up on somebody. So you need to find people that you can just express yourself emotionally. So that's 3, right? So the next thing is physical. So another thing that you can do, just make sure you're consistent. You go to the gym, you eat good, you exercise, right? That's 4. Again, this is just a skeleton. Then you also look at your finances, maybe get in a budget plan, because a lot of stress, a lot of divorces, a lot of murders, a lot of things are just caused by people, financial troubles. So just having your finances in check can just help with that. Another thing we have is relationships. That's another skeleton in the process, in the skeleton I'm going to give you. Having good relationships, like literally the right person can pivot your life and the wrong person can destroy your life, like literally. Like people have died just by being connected to the wrong people, right? So how much is that? I think that's 5. Am I at 5? And then the next thing that that's 6? Thank you. And then the last one is leadership, right? So all of us are leaders in some way or another, whether you're a father, you're a mother, you're You're a boss at your work. So just find ways to build yourself as a leader, whether that's going to conferences, whether that's reading books. That's a process. That's just a skeleton. But you see what I'm getting at. You need to be intentional about doing work outside of your vocational work. Okay? So the next thing that helps us, separate the two to get to the established part of us, you're not going to like this one. It's pain. Yeah. It's pain. There's only so much process can do on the journey of becoming the best you, but pain has the power to pivot you into your next. Pain has the power to allow you to see perspectives that you wouldn't have seen in comfort. I look at Constantine as an example. Not many of you know this, but around COVID, we almost lost the company. The company almost went under because we primarily do event security. And we lost all our contracts almost in one day. Pain. People got laid off. It was a painful place for us to be. And I just remembered, I was there and I remember watching Constantine, how he reacted to the pain. It broke him, of course. It was devastating. But you see, pain, I got this revelation that pain is almost like, pain is like a stream of lightning that comes at you. Anyone ever heard of a lightning rod? And you have to posture yourself to be like a lightning rod to channel the energy of that failure and that pain and then generate it into energy so that you can go into what you want to go into. But a lot of us do not posture ourselves to be like a lightning rod. We posture ourselves to be like a stick. And what happens when lightning hits a tree? It breaks. And so breakdowns come. All of these things come because we don't posture ourselves and have the perspective and make peace with the fact that pain is our friend. Pain actually has the most important lessons for us to learn. And so when we were going through the breakdown in the company, I saw how Constantine was devastated, but he rose above it and he said, listen, we have this brand, we have this image, but I'm ready to give up what I was willing to die for. The Sentinel brand, the suits and the ties and the events and all of those things. And I'm ready to reinvent myself. I'm ready to become a new version of myself because the old me has to die. COVID is forcing the old me to die. I can't continue to do event security during COVID. I have to reinvent myself. And so he did the thing that he thought he would never do. We going into the hospital. And so he said, because he's so big on the aesthetic and on the brand, so he even made like a Black Panther GQ hospital tactical uniform. I remember that. And then the hospitals are like, no, we don't do that. So we actually had to have a normal like vest and baton and whatever, because that vision was so, when the vision is so like pronounced, you're like, this is who I am. But sometimes you have to lose what you are to become what you will be. And so he said, we're going into the hospital. And not only are we going into the hospital, we're going to dominate in the hospital. And so now we get this contract and it saves the company, literally. And Sentinel, our vision was for events. We're now in healthcare. The company survives. We break through. We're more prosperous than we've ever been. But if he didn't go through that pain, it wouldn't have brought out that version of him that needed to rise up to bring Sentinel into a new era and into a new phase. Pain is very important. And now my question is, how are you handling your pain? Are you letting your pain handle you? Are you handling your pain? I'm not saying that grief is something to be taken lightly, but your grief can be the biggest source of your blessing if you allow it to. How do you see your grief? How do you see that breakup? Maybe that breakup was just you breaking out of prison. Like, how are you seeing the grief? Maybe you're just seeing that I didn't get that job, but maybe, that wasn't for you. Maybe you wouldn't prosper there. It's all about perspective. So in order for you to get to that place of establishment, you need to go through process. You need to go through pain. And then I'm going to end with this and we're done. I'm going to get out your way. That rhymed. What can I say? I'm sorry. The third one is people. Let's shake somebody's hand and say, you're cool. Oh, you guys kind of far. I'm sorry. Shake Phil. Yeah, don't leave Philip out. I need 2024 to be the year where you're intentional about having the right people beside you. Like, you got to be vicious and violent. Like I said before, the wrong person can cause you to implode and self-destruct. Most of the issues that some people are carrying are not even their own issues. It's just by virtue of association, that thing transfers to you, because life is very spiritual. You got to let go. Every time you bring up your dreams, man, I want to get into the force. And the person says, man, you're going to be the worst police officer. I know you grew up with him, but maybe it's time to let him go. Because you're going somewhere and he's going in the opposite direction. He's in a line with the old you. You're trying to become the new you. You got to let go to make space for the new, because sometimes the people and the relationships that are waiting for you, that will pivot you, won't come in until you make space for them. Life is about space. Turn to somebody and say, you are a limited commodity. You only have a limited amount of space. You see your iPhone, there's a limited amount of storage. You are the same way. And see, when sometimes we have mental and emotional breakdowns and meltdowns, it's because we go beyond our CPU and our storage space. You gotta make space for the new. 2024, I pray, will be the year where you will be able to find peace in yourself and make the necessary changes through your process, through how you manage your pain, and through the people that are around you, so that you can fully come into the totality of that reality of who lives, who dies, who tells your story. It is you. It is you.
It's high sun on the bed.
Who will you let lead that tug of war? The old you or the new you? You see how I barely talked about work stuff, right? Because this is the work that will determine how you work. So when I'm at work and I meet a mean person, it's like, this person ain't doing the work. They don't got a process. They're allowing the pain to run them down, and they don't got good people around them. It's that simple. And so I want you to go into work tomorrow morning as a different person and take these principles, because you have a story to tell. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. You will not go to the graveyard still full. Let your potential be maximized and not be minimized. So anyways, I want to end there. We're going to open up the floor for questions and answers. If anyone wants to share their process of how they're navigating through that, but I'm just going to end there. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless
you. I acknowledge and I know I believe this. You're the God who shifts times and seasons. You're the God who shifts times and seasons. You got the times. You got the seasons in your hands. You got the times. You got the seasons in your hands.
It's okay. Walk with me, it's okay. Walk with me, it's okay. Walk with me, 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 it's okay. Walk with me, it's okay. Walk with me, it's okay. Walk with me, walk with me, walk with me,
walk with me.
Walk with me, walk with me, walk with me, walk with me.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.